Good afternoon and welcome to another roundtable from QS iGauge. Greetings, my name is Shubhayu Naik and I'm the Director for Client Relations with QS iGauge. Today we are going to be talking about quality assessment in higher education, the need of the hour. Now, as most of you who are joining in today know that QS iGauge is India's first nationwide college and university ratings, and we have now moved into school ratings as well. So that is something, if you're interested, we can always talk about. Today we'll be talking about the Indian college and university ratings and why in higher education in India needs such global benchmarks to be part of their institution. We are joined today by over 200 viewers. We have a huge number of registrations and esteemed guests who will be speaking about, how quality assessment has affected their institution. So, good evening to everyone. Welcome. And without further ado, I want to invite our guests today. My first guest today is Dr. Archana Mantri. She's the Vice Chancellor of Chitkara University with a PhD in ENC and with 30 years of experience in R&D, training, academics and administration. She also holds a patent for multidimensional transit system and is a member of the Global Engineering Deans Council. So welcome, Dr. Mantri, and thank you for being part of the panel today.
Thank you, Shubhayu. I'm glad to be a part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. Our next esteemed guest today is Dr. Shivaram Khara. He's the Vice Chancellor for Sharda University and holds a PhD in engineering from Jadavpur University. And he was previously the Pro Vice Chancellor in Galgodias University. Again, 31 years of experience. So I can see collectively an experience of over 100 years today on our panel. That's going to be amazing. So, and his area of interest lies in mobile communication and networks. So welcome, Dr. Khara, and thank you for being part of the panel.
Thank you very much for inviting, and be proud to be associated with this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. My final guest today is Dr. Harsha Halahalli. He's the Director for Curriculum Development, NITE deemed to be university. He holds an MBBS degree from Karnataka Medical College and also has done his MPhil and PhD studies in neurophysiology from NIMHANS in Bangalore. So welcome, Dr. Harsha. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I've been chasing Dr. Harsha for quite some time, and I'm really happy that he's part of this panel today.
Thank you, Shubhayu. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure and privilege to be part of this panel. And Shubhayu, I'm glad that we're able to catch up finally.
Excellent, excellent. So I hope, all of you, most of you have been part of the quality assessment process with QS iGauge. And, that is something which we'll be discussing today. So, without further ado, as you all are aware that quality is not an act, it's a habit, something which Aristotle mentioned. And, this is something which I want to start with Dr. Harsha first on this one is, you have done the QS iGauge process, you've got the diamond, you're doing amazingly well within your institution. What was your experience in the quality assessment process? I mean, what did the experience uncover for you? And, I just want to know your thoughts in this process altogether.
Yes, Shubhayu. Of course, one can't argue against Aristotle, can we? Quality is indeed a habit. However, habits are cultivated by repeated acts, and hence one can say that beginning a journey towards quality would require actions. Almost all organizations practice quality assessments in one form or the other, and over the recent years, in particular, we have moved towards more formal quality assessments. We have moved towards formalizing and structuring our quality assessments in a better way, and this has been through both internal practices, importantly, as well as through externally facilitated exercises like accreditations, ratings, rankings, etc. Now, in the process, I think as an organization, we have become more mindful of quality. I suppose this is what is meant by quality consciousness. And for institutions, it is said that the path towards excellence requires a change in this quality consciousness, a continuous change in the quality consciousness. A change from accepting what is good enough, just good enough, to striving towards making things better. So that continuous effort towards making things better is what we think we have realized the importance of through this kind of exercises. Um, One of the things that over the years that we at Nite University have kind of I've been mulling about is that the perception of what constitutes quality and the importance of the value of this pursuit of quality itself often varies within an organization at various levels and even with time. So an early challenge in this kind of a commitment to quality and excellence is to raise the quality consciousness and have a common sense of purpose across the organization. What we have felt is that structured quality assessments, be it iGauge or other similar exercises, help in this process of creating a sustainable quality culture. We often talk about a 4-stage model of developing competence, like from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, and then to conscious competence, and then finally unconscious competence. I think a similar progression also happens with respect to quality. I would say from unconscious mediocrity to conscious mediocrity, and then probably towards conscious quality. I'm not sure if there is really an unconscious quality stage. I would say that one needs to be always mindful about efforts towards quality. And what we have realized is that very often we are at different stages of this continuum, in quality consciousness, in functioning in different areas, and sometimes we're not fully aware of that in which stage we are. So that creating that awareness is extremely important. So creating awareness about quality, aligning all our efforts, individual efforts towards the organization's quality processes, and then focusing attention on areas that need quality improvement. I think that has been the major kind of learning experience for us from the various quality assessments and rankings that we've been participating in. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harsha. I would like to also ask the same question to Dr. Khara as well. Dr. Khara, what are your thoughts on this? That it is something of an habit rather than just an act, a one-time act. I would say is building quality within an institution is something which is a requirement, and it's also in our sorry, what do you call that? Sorry, my apologies. It got out of my head. So what are your thoughts on quality becoming a habit within an institution? What do you think about that?
Yeah, this here, the thing is, we are following certain system and process in education institutes, and then to implement the curriculum and teaching learning, and then evaluation process. And of course, the research, development, and other extension activities, and then social responsibilities, outreach programs, all those things, knowledge enhancement, knowledge creations. But here, question is quality, because everybody knows, or we all know that what are the activities expected of us to do meticulously. But thing is that, yes, it is the habit, means it is the culture of doing the things differently and meticulously. And then really we bring about certain standards, and then we actually move towards the continuous improvement and meeting certain outcomes. And that means your system and process, and then your practice, and then implementations, all these things will bring the quality. So it is also necessary to identify certain parameters or metrics which are yardsticks, to understand that what level of perfectness or perfections and outcomes actually happening. And so you should have also monitoring system. So it depends on institute to institute, university to university. And therefore, to achieve the quality in the system, and then they must have a very innovative approach to live through these all processes. And ultimately, it is no outcome that students' performance, students' outcomes, students' achievements, then faculty knowledge enhancement, their publications, and then as a university or as institutions, then we prove that yes, we have attained this. And then the way that data actually we are talking about, we generate through the quality process, and data and relevant documents, we present in such a manner, such as you are also doing, assessing different institutions, and by seeing itself, it reflects the culture and the level of practice and dedications. So data along with the process and documents, it automatically reflects that involvement of the way it is done and generated, and then you assess, and that is the quality that we present. And then seeing the data and relevant documents, we understand that yes, certain standards is maintained and meticulously done, process is defined, outcomes are there. And so we think that yes, we are going through the quality practices. So this is all about quality. There no need to practice, and with certain benchmark outcomes and continuous improvement. And side by side, we have to keep the proofs also.
Thank you, Dr. Khara. And I will come back to what you mentioned about the students, the alumni, the faculty, and also the data itself. I want to ask the same question to Dr. Mantri as well. Dr. Mantri, what are your thoughts on having quality assessment as a habit within an institution?
Thank you for this question, but you also, this particular question was in two parts. You said the experience on the quality assessment process in the institution, and what did this experience uncover? So I would say the sole point is, as and when and as many times we go into the quality assessment process, the one thing that we uncover is every time that there is a lot to improve. Because quality is habit and is the way of life, there is continuous improvement needed. And that can happen only when you experience and look at yourself and introspect from a third-party quality perspective, in addition to the first person or the first-party quality perspective. Quality is all about think, act, measure, improve. And the cycle goes on. Every time one goes through that cycle, there is a new experience. And everybody would agree with me, whosoever is undergoing this accreditation cycle or quality improvement cycle or quality assessment cycle. We also found that new parameters emerge, as do ways to improve them. And in a nutshell, I can say that every time we undergo a quality assessment cycle, there is something new that gets revealed. It also gives us a sense of satisfaction that yes, whatever we were doing, in our quest to improve the teaching learning process, the outcome, in our bid to do something for the society, everything can be measured. And as I said, new parameters emerge. And see, the whole purpose of education is getting redefined. There are new ways, new means, new definitions which are emerging. And hence, the quality parameters and hence the ways to measure them also are emerging and being rediscovered every time you enter into a quality assessment process. Also, there are various kinds of quality assessment also now happening. So you go to various ranking agencies or accreditation or quality assessment agencies, and you will find. And I don't think that anyone is better than the other or anything. Anyone is more biased toward one parameter than the other. It is for us as an institution to find out, align what kind of quality assessment we want to get done in alignment with the vision and mission of the organization that we belong to. So I would say it's a very good thing to always assess the quality and again go through that 4 stages of think, act, measure, improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. And I've actually written that down. So it's going to be think, act, measure, and improve.
Sure.
I've written it down. This is something really good. I believe this is something which I'll be also speaking with institutions in the future, that this is a definitely a good 4-step way on how they can look at quality assessment within their institution. Now, as you all are aware, and there are a lot of people who are joining in today, so I want to tell everybody who is joining in that please feel free to write your questions, and we'll be able to see those questions and ask our panelists over here. And if you have any questions for the panelists, please feel free to write them, and we will ask the questions over here. Dr. Mantri, my question to you now is, as you are aware that within quality assessment, data plays, or the data which is retained by an institution, is an extremely important part of the process itself. So there are two things which I want to ask is, one is, what do you think the role of data within an institution is in terms of quality assessment? And also, is how is Chitkara University doing something different, or what are your I would say your SOPs in terms of collecting data, or what are the methods? It would be very interesting to hear, because you recently broke into the QS rankings as well, so congratulations on that. And I just want to know how are you doing things a little bit differently in terms of data collection, data validation? How are you doing it differently?
So, Subhayu, there is a famous saying, in God we believe, everybody else brings in data. So, if the data cannot lead to inference and the inferential story does not reflect the outcomes, something is definitely wrong. So, data, reflection, and the story that you want to tell to the world out there, everything should match. Coming to the question of what are the SOPs, what are the methods, how do we collect the data, how do we rely on data and bringing the reliable data to table. See, again, this is something which there are, of course, standard data collection processes, but what we have found from our experience, I can share that it's everybody's own experience that brings in new methods and a reliable method that can serve an organization. None of the organization, or no one organization can copy the method and SOP that the other organization is following, because the people are different, the ways data gets generated is different, and hence, and every organization is different in terms of its vision, mission, and in terms of its I would say charter and the value system that that organization thinks. So what we have thought is, I mean, I can tell you my story. Of course, I cannot comment on any SOP that anybody else is following. But yes, what we did is, first of all, we very carefully select what are the quality assessment checks that we want to do on our own, of course, in alignment with the agencies, like, for example, QS, the rankings, or for that matter, NAAC accreditation or NB or whatever. We define, first of all, what is the quality assessment parameters and quality assessment agencies that we want to really look for. Does it align with what we want to do with from within the organization for the students or our stakeholders? What are our priorities? Having done that, we collect the data, of course, as everybody else does, according to the parameters which have been defined by the quality assessment agency. After that, we put in a lot of effort on sanitizing the data. So we definitely collect the data, yes, we put in a lot of effort, but we know that when we collect the data, there is a lot of junk also that gets collected in terms of duplication, in terms of, I would say it's not a reliable data, not backed by evidence. That is another thing that we have found out, that if the data is not backed by evidence, it's something which is to be discarded. Even though it may reflect to a large extent what the quality assessment agency is trying to find out. But then if there is no evidence, then that data is a waste. So after collection of data, we do this sanitization, and that is the most important task. Then, and in fact, we actually spend a lot of time on sanitizing the data. After that comes the analysis and self-analysis as to where do we stand. And then we sort of give indications to ourselves that look here, this is the data, this is what we wanted to achieve. As I said, data, inference, reflection in the story. Is the data telling the story that you want to tell to out to the world? So if there are gaps, we should improve. So the most important inference that we draw from data and this whole quality improvement exercise is what are the parameters, what are the ways that we have to improve so that our data reflects the story that we want to tell. This is what is I can say in a nutshell, the SOP that we follow.
I really liked Dr. Mantri when you said that an institution has its story and your data should back up that story, and that is something which I think every institution should follow. Is what is your vision, what is your charter, and do you have that data which backs you up for that story, right? Are your stakeholders aware of that story? Are you communicating properly to your stakeholders that this is what we have done from X year to Y year, and have we improved, and if we have improved, this is the data to showcase that this is how we have improved. Yeah. So thank you very much. That's a wonderful reply. I think one of days you should come and talk to our office staff as well, because they would love to hear all of this. They're already on this webinar as well. Dr. Khara, I want your opinion on this. I mean, how is Sharda University doing things differently in terms of the role of data in quality assessment, and how your institution is preparing the data, or are there challenges which you're seeing, or is it a smooth sailing process? I mean, I want your opinion on that one.
Yeah. No, data collections and authentications, validations, and analysis has never become so smooth for generally for any institutes. It's a challenging, But anyway, in Sharda University, we actually devised one process for data collections, data validations, and data analysis. And we have actually identified the sources of data, and these data collections entirely in the software-based, ERP-based data collections. So based on the sources of data in the ERP itself, the designations are created, and then appropriate formats for each category of data pertaining to a particular source has been created, and then it is continuously open. And then the source level, they need to update the data in that particular format, and that format, as far as possible, have been made in compliance with NBA and NAC and NIRF, and also the data at the source level, one source in charge, and then in the department or school level, one more persons, and as well as in central level, specifically it is in IQAC. This 3 level of data validation is there, because the data they have put, and then the corresponding documents they have uploaded, and then its relevance, and then acceptability and validity of the proof are checked by the coordinator level, and then in the HOD level, and then your IQAC level. And once it is done, and then we generate the report, and then we analyze, and then we review, and then we corrective actions and discuss then the way how what are the gray areas we need to improve. So this is totally ERP based, and tier 3-tier authentication and source level data entry. This is the overall scheme of data collections we are using in this university.
Thank you, Dr. Khara. Dr. Khara, you mentioned NAC, NRF, NBA, but you have also been rated by QS IGAUGE. So, what is your advice for institutions who are you're looking at QS IGAUGE as an option? I mean, see, it is a rigorous process. There's a lot of work which is involved with doing the QS IGAUGE rating process. Many more indicators than what I would say NAC or NBA or NRF have. And as you're aware, we have the global benchmarks which have been created towards more the local flavors. So we have factors like gender diversity, what is the safety within an institution. So what is your advice for institutions who want to do QS iGauge, the rating process, as an option? What is
Yeah,
your advice for it?
yes, what we do actually, the as far as possible, the NBA and NAC and NAREB, they have provided certain formats. So only at source level, we can correlate the formats and we can enter the data. But in QS, for working with the QS at the central level of the IQSE, they generate the data and they take the data relevant to all QS and they manage it in the central level. So it is data collections at the central level, and central level the relevant data processed for your QS ranking. And this is the process we are using, and we have a very big team and in the IQAC, and they are working hopeful that we are trying to improve certain things. And mostly our approaches are going for ERP based data processing, and then so that because last year we have faced a lot of problems when the system was not there, and then we are sending the format to the departments and a lot of repetitive information being asked. A faculty member showing the resentment that how many times we have to give, and then it is time consuming mostly, and then repetitive works are actually given to the faculty, HODs and all. So better keep the options at the source level. As and when data is generated, you open the portal and you can upload, and in central level we collect it and validate it and then process for QS. So this is the method we are using.
Thank you, Dr. Kara. I think Dr. Harsha is facing some technical difficulties, but once he comes back, we'll be asking some questions to him as well. Dr. Mantri, as you're aware right now, the wonderful things that are happening outside, especially with the pandemic, and we have been all forced to go online. So, Chitkara University holds it has the QS iGauge E-Lead certification. Now, this is something which I wanted to talk to you about. Is what was your experience going through the E-Lead certification? Because this certification is to gauge on how online is ready is an institution moving forward in terms of imparting quality education through online means. So your views on that would be really appreciated.
So, you see, this was online is something that everybody was forced into. And this certification, QS certification, when it came, it was kind of a nice surprise because it gave us a chance to gauge and assess in terms of quality what we were, something that we were forced into, and there was no means to measure the quality of online education. And here was a certification which led us to do that. So it was a feel good factor, I would say, but
Yes.
also it gave us an insight into where we could improve more. Because that is what is the whole purpose, at least for us at our university, at Chitkara University, we want to just, find out ways by doing all that exercise, how we can improve more. And this certification definitely helped us to find out that particular difference. So getting a certification is something, but getting an insight into the areas of improvement is definitely something of paramount importance to us.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. I have a question from Mr. H.R. Vishwakarma. The question is, why are vast majority of institutes shying away from using educational data mining techniques for internal quality assessment? Now, Dr. Mantri, I would like you to answer this one, because I think you've been talking a little bit about how within Chitkara University you have actually used data to improve within your institution, and I know this for a fact as well, of course. So maybe you would like to take this question.
So I would say this particular question is directed to those institutes which are actually shying away. And I am admitting on an open platform that we are not shying away. We are definitely doing all these quality assessment exercises to find out where we can improve. And that is what is the whole idea. Even if it is a quality assessment or by taking feedback from stakeholders, we are in a continuous state of finding out the areas of improvement, feeding it back to the system, thinking, strategizing how we can do that. And that is what we are doing. I mean, we are not claiming at any of these platforms or even internally that we are the best. No, there is so much to improve, and we are in a quest of improvement to find out areas where we can improve. So definitely yes, we should use any technique, whether it is education mining or mining techniques, or it is collecting data, doing surveys, going through quality assessment cycles, everything for just one sole purpose: to improve.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. So Dr. Harsha is back with us. Dr. Harsha, there were some technical difficulties. You were off. So I'm going to ask that question, which I've asked a couple of them already. And then I'm going to ask the same question to you as well. See, data is a very important part of quality assessment. So probably you can, and you've done the QS IGAUGE rating process in your institution. You're quite some time ago, actually. And you hold the diamond rating as well within your institution. I want to understand how, what were the methods you used to prepare for such a process? Or do you have certain SOPs in place within your institution, which I'm sure you do? And maybe you can elaborate, give advice, because there was a question which was asked right now, is why are institutions shying away from using educational data mining techniques for internal quality assessment? So maybe that is something you would like to, talk a little bit about, please.
Yes, Shubhayu. Of course, data is obviously important for quality assessment. It's at the core of quality assessment. Different accreditation and rating exercises use anywhere between 50% to 100% of criteria. In some cases, are hard data based. The thing about data is that it is always there. The challenge for any institution is creating ready access to data that is relevant, data that is consistent, and data that is verifiable. So any effort should address, keep in mind these three things about data mining. Now, purely from a ratings methodology perspective, efficient data collection and its retrieval is of course important. But from the broader perspective of quality enhancement, hard data is important, but also we need to realize that data is not everything. We need to find ways of understanding even the less tangible and qualitative aspects of our functioning, which are relevant for data enhancement, and keep these things in mind while we plan, methods for data collection and for analysis and for interpretation of the data that we generate. I think that's something that we need to keep in mind. It's not only about hard data; it's about a mix of both data and its interpretation based on other less tangible or intangible aspects of our functioning. Now, one of the great benefits of improving data management for any institution is that it may be kind of incidental to participating in assessment practices, but a great advantage is that it really strengthens your systematic planning for the future. That is something that you quickly realize once you start, looking at data in an objective way. Now, quality of data is absolutely important. And I would say that the quality of data is a function of probably three things. One is its relevance to what you're trying to do, to what you're trying to assess. Second is its verifiability. Like Dr. Mantri also said, we only believe in evidence ultimately, and its comparability. When the type of data that you use for making for getting analytical insights should be an informed choice of data. Now, clearly, technology is crucial for any aspect of data management. I think gone are the days where even a small institution can hope to manage data on a paper and pencil format anymore. So technological platforms are absolutely essential. Now, like Dr. Mantri and Dr. Khara also mentioned earlier, the actual specifics of this is very much institution dependent. It depends upon what their needs are, what stage of data management they are in, etc., etc. But some basic principles is that any technological platform for data collection, analysis, and management should be easy to use. At the end of the day, one of the biggest challenges we come across is that often data collection and analysis is seen as a burden. That should not happen. So ease of use. And another thing that we have realized is that avoiding duplication of data collection. We often there are various reasons for which we collect data, and sometimes unknowingly we collect the same data at different points of time, and it is a self-defeating practice, because it kind of brings down the morale of people who are involved in reporting the data. So avoiding of duplication, ease of use, and linking it to documentation as and when you collect the data. I think these are important. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that you have to look for platforms which are efficient for you, depending upon your use case, depending upon your stage of engagement with data, and you should not end up as an additional burden. Equally important, I think, beyond other than technology, is the awareness about data requirement, the type of data, and awareness about what is quality of data amongst all the stakeholders. Because unless we know what is relevant data and how do you identify quality data, and this is something which everybody needs to know. Otherwise, you end up a lot of time sorting through data and then going back and forth in trying to find what is separating the chaff from the useful data. Another thing is we need to be flexible when you're designing your data collection systems, analytical systems. You need to keep in mind that you need to be flexible in the sense that you need to anticipate change in data requirements. Assessment and accreditation practices they keep on evolving. Policies change. For example, right now you can clearly see that in a year or two, based on the new education policy, we will be looking at different things from what we're looking at now. So being prepared for that and proactively, kind of tweaking your data collections processes will make the process much less painful in the long run. And all this depends upon feedback. You need to listen to everybody on the ground who are reporting data, who are analyzing data, and who are presenting this data, and find out where are the bottlenecks, where are the pain points, and I think that's how one needs to develop. So you can either choose off-the-shelf technological platforms or develop in-house. It depends upon what your comfort levels are and what your resource levels are. So whatever it is, the crucial things are it should not become a burden, and we should be flexible. We should be able to anticipate future needs and base changes on feedback. This is what I would suggest to institutions who are looking at data mining.
Thank you, Dr. Harsha. There's a very good point about the NEP, which is going to come out and which is already out, and going to be implemented in the next 1 or 2 years. Now, this is something which we have already been able to implement within our methodology, and in our new methodology, which is methodology 2.0, which Dr. Neelakantan from Kalasalingam is asking about. Another very important thing which I want to say is, we've had a couple of conversations, Dr. Harsha, especially being a medical university. You were critical about our previous methodology. There were some challenges when we were looking at medical universities. So we have taken that feedback. We have made some changes, especially when it comes to employability within a medical institution. So this is something which we have made some changes. I can, of course, send the new methodology, and whoever is attending can go onto our website, and they can talk about they can request the methodology, the new one. There is a question from Mr. Sachin Surya, and his question is there any specific technology for data collection which you are using? So, Dr. Harsha, is there any specific technology which you are using within your institution?
We have taken by and large an in-house development model for our data collection and requirement analysis requirements. So like I said, I think the focus should be less on which particular platform or which particular technology. It's about identifying what your requirements based on your stage of what stage you are in terms of your data requirements and etc. And based on that, look at options, multiple options that are available, and take a call. We within Nita University, by and large have used in-house developed platforms. So it is the I don't have any particular proprietary suggestion to make.
Sure, sure. And Dr. Khara, are you using any specific technology for data collection within Sharda University?
Yeah, we are also not using any specific technology or specific software for data collections, although we reviewed certain vendors in recent time. And to implement such data collection system, the challenge is lying that you already have your ERP system, that students data, faculty data, your staff data, and your all other informations. And moment you go for any other software, they will be very limited, features will be there. Then you need to sync your database with their database and make a separate login, and there is a problem. And most of the things, academic and research related things which you are already using in your own ERP, that cannot be also integrated in a standalone such entity software at all if you buy. Hence, what we have done now in our own ERP, also in-house, we have developed our own system, and that has become very easy because all the students, all faculty, and all the infrastructures and hierarchy organizations, everything was there in the system. And then only you develop the data collection part. So using the single login, and they can enter their any achievement. And then only in the page you have to develop all these what kind of data you want. So this way we have developed our also a in-house system without going for any vendor, independent vendor for that. This is the way we are doing.
So 2 out of 3 have their own ERP in place. Dr. Mantri, what about you? Please don't tell me that you have your own thing, or have you developed your own system within your institution?
So Excel is the answer. You collect everything on a shared file. However, I'll give you a key thing that we do in terms of strategizing data collection. So every assessment agency or every assessment process, whether it is IGAUGE or whether it is NAC or NBA, they have got a lot of data to fill. And if you look at, and I think Professor Harsha also pointed this out, that there are a lot of correlation amongst various parameters of the data that you have. So I'll just give you a very crude example, or I would say a live example from the NAC accreditation. If you look at the parameters 3 and 5, 3 is about research and innovation and entrepreneurship, and 5 is all about students' activities. So if you look at that, there is a lot of overlap. So when you give such large data, and in universities like us, like Sharda University or Nitte University or like us, we have got a lot of data. So when it goes to various ground level collection of data, there is a lot of confusion as to which activity, which data is to be filled in which sheet. So what we do in terms of strategizing, there is a core team which sits, whether it is IGAUGE or NAC or NBA. We first of all look at all the parameters, their weightages, and also look at what are we do within the university to fill in those rows of data. Then we prepare a master document, a guiding document to guide the people at the ground level, which data has to go where. So for example, if there is a workshop which is getting conducted or which was conducted, so it can probably go at 2 or 3 places in the whole, there are 93 DVVs in the NAC accreditation process if you talk about. So it can go at least 5 places. Now we give in that guiding document a kind of a matrix that we prepare, that if this is the workshop which is qualifying for these parameters, then it would most fit into this DVV, into this particular metric of the accreditation agency, and this is where you have to fill. And rest is then all mundane task, and people have to just fit in. But we definitely spend a lot of time before data collection on preparing that master document, a guiding kind of a Bible for people to follow as to where which data should go. And after that, of course, as I already said, a lot of data sanitization. We duplicate. We sort of try to remove the duplications, data without evidence, and so on and so forth. Even we prepare a guiding document for how the evidence should look like. What are the parameters that a particular accrediting agency or quality assessment agency is going to look in the evidence? So if, of course, it is there in all the, like the assessment agencies always give you a guide, but then you have to tweak that guide to in a language which your people understand, because the language which the accreditation or the quality assessment or the ranking agency is giving is from their point of view. Now, not everybody at the ground level would understand that language, and nobody has that time, to be very honest. Nobody had this time. So we prepare a central force, a kind of a central guiding team, which first of all takes about good 15 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks time to prepare that guiding document. Then sort of we circulate it, then we talk to the stakeholders who are actually filling the data. We answer their questions. We also prepare an FAQ, and then the data collection starts. So this is what is I think it's a key point that we have learned from our own experience. And it will be good to share. I mean, I'm happy to share it with all others who are present here.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. That's actually really nice. I mean, also, I'm pretty sure that all of the institutions who are part of this panel, they must be having a brief discussion with their faculty members before they start this process. I think that is essential when you are starting any accreditation, any rating. It may be NAC, NBA, or even QS IGAUGE. This is something which faculty members should be aware of: the language, the requirements, the kind of time, effort which is required from them. And this is something which I believe is a good practice which all institutions should follow, especially the ones who are joining us today. They're already doing that, but others as well. And so there is one very, very good question which has just been asked to me. I've missed it somewhere in the conversation over here. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, this is, yes. Yes. Expert panelists may like to identify a few potential reasons or issues that hinder the use of EDM techniques. I'm not sure what EDM techniques are, or maybe one of you would like to. Dr. Harsha, would you like to take this one?
Educational determining techniques.
Oh, wow,
same
perfect. Sure. So Dr. Harsha or Dr. Mantri, would you like to take this one forward? Or Dr. Khara for that matter?
Yeah, already I have told that there are quite a few such vendors, those who are providing some data collection mechanism through software. And we have seen so for outcome-based education, some vendor is there. For NAC, some vendor is there. Some other vendors are telling that we'll giving the NIRF service. Some other vendors telling this is the format you can collect the data. But university already has one established system and processes. University has its own database. The problem will be there when we move to the another database. Then you need to configure each time the students' data, faculty data, and all other things into their server. And then integrating that, it is a very difficult. Say such as mentoring data, students' feedback data, and if any other activity-based things, if you want to do, and these data cannot be collected through these standalone softwares, which will be in separate server. And every semester now you have to migrate the students' login or students' data, or faculty data. It is those softwares. I am not pointing; they are good, but they are good in their own respective, standalone mode. Which is such a multidisciplinary big university, it is not so easy to use and integrate in our existing ERP system, and that's why we thought that in our own ERP. Let us develop few forms entire NAC related compliance, all those things, DVB, and give them the login features and already teaching learning process, including mentoring and other results processing and other feedback system and slow advanced learners, and then your stakeholders. Everything is there in the LMS system, and they are closely integrated in a single entity. So that is very easy for us to correlate the data, to generate the data, to monitor the data, to retrieve the status and take the corrective actions. So it depends again, no institute to institute, how they will do, but yes, they are there, but we are not using that. Those are there. Outside any standalone entity we are not using, except we are using one standalone, but their data is totally in sync with our LMS or ERP based system, that is your mentoring. It's a separate software, standalone software, but it is way integrated with the existing software that if you change anything, you make change in the main ERP, automatically data or information will be in sync with this software, so absolutely no problem. Okay. So this is the way we need to integrate these things, then only it will function.
Thank you, Dr. Kara. There is a question from Dr. Syed Nizamuddin. He's saying that kindly suggest some ideas how to introduce best practices without involving huge financial expenditures, especially in government institutions. I think Dr. Mantri, you did talk about Excel when you were talking in the last conversation, and maybe would you like to take this one forward? This particular question.
So I don't think there is any huge financial expenses that need to be involved. However, the best practice is the discipline. So whenever there is an activity, there is a data which is getting generated, there has to be a central repository, and the processes should have been evolved much earlier. And I would definitely agree with Dr. Harsha's comment that duplication of data has to be avoided, and that itself is a financial burden indirectly in terms of faculty's time. So if you can devise out means at a central level to avoid duplicacy of data, create a central repository of data wherein everything gets deposited at the right time in a right disciplined manner, and the guiding documents for preparing that data, I think Excel is good enough. And all the tools which are being provided free of cost by Google, Google Drive, and a simple FTP. FTP server would do the magic. You just have everything on an FTP, and at the click of a mouse, everything is retrievable. So I think these are very simple practices, and there is no huge financial burden if we can maintain discipline across the departments in terms of generating and keeping the data right time in the right manner.
I couldn't agree more with you, Dr. Mantri. I couldn't agree more with you. Dr. Harsha, we have another question. It says that in medical universities, PhD is not a mandate as per MCI and BCI. So what could be a solution for the same? You already have a PhD, and there were some challenges with our previous methodology also, but you were able to score really well with that. Do you want to take this? Because after you answer this question, I will also give in a few comments after that.
Yes, the question of PhD numbers in medical universities was a bit of an issue, but I think increasingly many of the accreditation agencies and rating agencies do recognize that postgraduate medical qualifications like MD or MS or even MDS in dentistry, they are terminal degrees that would be equivalent to PhD. So many of them have, accepted that view, which is a very welcome move. And given that, I don't really see this as much of a big challenge anymore. At least for the major accreditation and rating exercises, we do find that we, in fact, in some ways, we may be at an advantage now, because most of the faculty in medical colleges and dental colleges invariably would have a postgraduate degree, and in fact, that could be an advantage.
So also in our new methodology, which is the methodology 2.0, this is a concern which was shared with most of the medical institutions across the country who tried to do the process of rating with us. And we have clearly mentioned in our rating right now is that any terminal degree which you just mentioned will be considered as we move forward. So my other question is, so this is a question by Dr. Vijay Shekhar from SSN. How do you handle the pain of preparing data in different formats for different assessment agencies? Unless there is a common format, this pain will exist. Your comments on this. So before I take this to the panel, I would probably try to answer this in a way possible. This is from agency to agency, and every agency has their, so unless all the agencies get together and create a similar format or a same format in which data can be submitted, this is going to be a challenge, or rather this is going to be a process which needs, and this is essentially why we have IQAC cells within every organization. But again, this is something which probably I would like the esteemed panel members to respond on. So Dr. Khara, what is your opinion on this? I mean, most of you have been rated by various agencies, and there
Yeah,
is a challenge, right?
yes. See, the formats will be different for NBA and for NAC. The data formats are different, and of course, although the area of the achievements may be similar, looking similar, but way they ask the data will be different. Format is different. So immediately there is no remedy for this. We have to live through this. Mostly since NAC, many DVBs are there, and institute level, all departments are concerned, and see NBA is only program level. So basically, institute level, we have adopted as a NAC is the ERP based data collection system, and rest of the things already I have told that most of the at least 90% data will be relevant to the NBA and others. So IQAC will do the rest of the job, whether it is NIRF or it is NBA or this is QS. So all these to be taken care of by the people of the IQAC, those who are working there. We have to live by this currently. There will be no such remedy that you. Yes, so one, of course, in-house we have tried, but not. It takes time. Actually, it will take time. That once you collect the data through ERP using your say in NAC format, then if all the fields are available, then from that form, if you want to generate another form in the format of NBA, in software it is possible, but somebody has to develop that software so that auto conversions will be there. But of course, 100% is not possible, but yes, 60-70% data, the format can be converted, either omitting or adding certain fields, but informations will be picked up from the one point, and then it will be converted to the other format. For that, you need to develop in-house software, or if any vendor is available, they can help us. But currently, there is this is a constant. We have to live by this. We have to live through this.
Thank you, sir. One thing which I wanted to also add on this point, and maybe the panel members can also discuss a little bit about it, is, see, NRF is a ranking, NAC is a rating, which is on an institutional level, and NBA is I would say, a rating which is on a program level. So when we are looking at data for each one of them, it is definitely going to be different. There are going to be different processes on how we are going to collect that data. Similarly, with QS IGAUGE, we do have different processes. However, we have our data analyst who is going to help you with that process. Now, I'm going to go a little away, and I'm going to now ask, so Dr. Harsha, you've been rated by QS IGAUGE. My question is, how are you generating awareness about QS IGAUGE within your stakeholders and, students, parents, your faculty members? Is there something you've done which you would like to share with the audience today?
Yes, Shubhayu. This I think is a important part of quality consciousness, which I was speaking about earlier. Of course, we do conventional modes about such as actually talking to students and faculty and other stakeholders at every opportunity we get. There are many such opportunities. It could be your graduation day, your foundation day, or whatever it is. So there are opportunities like that where we make use of we incorporate issues that are relevant for quality consciousness at such events. We use social media. Everybody is now very much linked through social media, so we don't lose an opportunity to use social media for this kind of things. Now, beyond these, We also try to involve student representatives in many quality processes, be it in planning, monitoring of outcomes that are related to quality enhancement, and of course, using formal feedback mechanisms to focus on quality-related issues. So, involving student representatives has a very positive impact in the sense that there's a sense of ownership with the students too, and obviously when students have a greater engagement with quality, their parents also become informed about this. And I would also say that it's about starting the journey, and as we become committed to quality enhancement, as we participate in more and more such activities, the overall the buzz about quality on the campus by itself kind of increases. So it's about reaching a certain momentum, and then it becomes part of conversations, one way or the other, many times positively, and sometimes there would be expressions of less positive emotions too. But all that is good because it keeps the focus on what we need to do to sustain quality. So one has to make the best use of conventional modes, but also I think involvement of stakeholders directly in quality processes gives them a chance of ownership of this, and that makes a more lasting impact.
Dr. Harsha, I couldn't agree more with you in terms of saying that your students are your brand advocates for your institution, and imbibing in them the importance of quality is the statement says, is the need of the hour. We will also be very shortly within this month having a student outreach webinar, which I'll be sending you all invites to. And if you're interested, I can definitely will be sending one to you, Dr. Harsha, as well. Dr. Mantri, same question for you again. I mean, how are you increasing awareness within your stakeholders when we are looking at quality, and when you have the results for the elite certification? Now that was fairly recent within your institution. So how did you take that and run with it? Probably you would like to give your comments on that point.
Yeah, so Subayu, 1 point mantra of sales: if you have it, you flaunt it. So we have this prestigious certification, and we flaunt it everywhere in our digital signatures, on our Facebooks, social media, print, everywhere we do it. But of course, we understand that it, we are that way very, very, very brand conscious, in the sense that we don't want to do it. We do not, as it is, flaunt too much on the admission aspect, but from the because the certification is for quality. So, and we are proud of the quality, and that is why we are flaunting it. So that is the whole purpose. So, as I said, even though the certification, it came as a very nice surprise for us, because when you all are forced into something, and then there is an agency who can actually gauge what you are doing in a quality driven manner. So we in fact used that opportunity to give this message to all our students and stakeholders that yes, we are e-ready, and the online education is as much quality conscious as traditional education or physical face-to-face education would have been. So this is what we did. In fact, we used it. This certification, we used it at all our social media platforms, print, even in our conversations, everywhere we used it. And I think the result was good. I think we were very proud of it.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. I think it's a conscious communication to all your stakeholders about quality is really essential. Not only from the admissions perspective, which you very clearly mentioned. That was an amazing statement, because institutions who I speak with on a regular basis, when we are talking about quality, they usually tend to end up asking us, why should we do a rating when it is not going to help us with admissions? But what they don't understand at that point of time is quality is not directly proportional to admissions. In the long run, it might be, But at the moment, if you are building a world-class institution, an institution where you would be proud to work at, quality should be something which you should be focusing on. Um, so the director of PSIT has mentioned that how NEP disclosure-based virtue fits into present accreditation process. I cannot speak for various other accreditation processes, but we have successfully implemented that within the QS iGauge rating process. And if you could go to our website, we'll be happy to share the methodology with you, and also can give you a presentation on that. I'm going to come to Dr. Khara now, and we are coming to the end of this webinar because we're running short of time. Um, and this is now more of self-introspection, because we want to understand how, as QS iGauge, we can help other institutions. So, Dr. Khara, my question to you is, what are the steps do you think as QS iGauge would benefit what we should do to help you? That is my question for you, Dr. Khara.
Yeah, certainly. QS IGAUGE, based on the quality parameters, they have given elite certificate, and you have rightfully chosen among many few of the universities, initially 12, and then many more universities you have given. And here our learning was there very good, that way the data initially we stored and generated and you have given, and then by getting certain elite certificate, and we have got certain query also from other universities at personal level, and that motivated us that there is a need in the online platform as well to maintain the data, and quickly, since students were at home and then you are taking the online classes, as I told that this mentoring data and other data, whatever was asked, and quickly we learned many things, and then subsequently we are motivated to align our systems more authentic data, how can be, and then proof can be kept. So thereby we also went for certain online examination software where we have conducted online examinations, scanned copy, automatically linked with the faculty, and online checking and data migrations, all those things. But anyway, yes, we are benefited, and we have our What's Happening one mail portal, which is connected to all the students, alumni, and parents as well. And we send this quality certificate, and also in social network. And this is as rightfully you have told, say quality is such a thing, overnight you cannot expect such results in terms of the intake or all those things. But yes, you are moving towards building a solid foundations, and becoming internally very strong, and that will help you in long term. In over the few years it may take, but definitely it will give some result. But immediately we are also so desired that by this elite certificate and all this, that we give it any social platform, and then we are expecting that our quality intake or intake ratio will be very high, like that. Yes, internally it has made us very confident, and then boosted us to do more. That's why we have enhanced certain a few data collection mechanism enhancement in the software as well, and that is very encouraging, and so surely we are benefited and boosted, and this creates impacts, this gives impacts towards the quality.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. Mantri, your views, I mean, what would you expect QS iGauge to do now that, you've done the process, and what would you think that we can do to help other organizations across the country, and also yours as well? I mean, is there something which you would like to talk about? Your views, please.
I do not have a topic to hard answer to this, but our experience undergoing this assessment process was pretty much eye-opening. And as I said, there was a feel-good factor also. but there could be some more parameters which could be introduced in terms of measurement of learning outcomes and the learning impact of specifically of the organizations which have moved from offline to online, because that will also give them a lot of insight into how they can improve the processes. So readiness is something that you have already gauged, but outcome is something that still we need to measure in terms of, and of course it will take time because we have moved, and the learning outcome measurement of course takes some time. So it's going to be a, I would say, a longitudinal kind of a measurement that we'll have to do. So if you can bring into your assessment this longitudinal measurement process wherein the focus is on process and outcome both, that will give us a very different kind of certification and assessment to organizations like that.
Thank you, Dr. Mantri. That definitely is in our minds, and we are going to be looking at that as we progress, because things are not looking that rosy at this point of time. And even if we come back into institutions, we most of the students and even the faculty members have said blended is the way forward. So that definitely is something which we will be definitely incorporating within our rating process, and I'll definitely get back to you about that one. Dr. Harsha, your views, please. I mean, you've had the QS IGAUGE rating for some time now, and we would definitely like to hear on how you think that we can. Is there some detail which we can provide, some thoroughness, something about? And please be critical, as much critical as you want to be. So please.
Coming to the e-learning certification, which I echo Professor Mantri's views that looking at outcomes would be useful in this transition to online. And I understand that from my conversations with you earlier that QS IGAUGE is already planning for a more comprehensive assessment of e-learning quality. That would, of course, be welcome. But from a broader perspective of quality assessment, not necessarily limited to e-learning, I think we have had this conversation multiple times in the past. You were here in my office too a couple of years ago. I think when institutions start engaging with quality assessment, specific rating agencies, specific rating methodologies, there are always concerns. There are always concerns and apprehensions, etc. But I think my take on this is that rating methodologies, if they have to be credible and transparent, are necessarily a little complex. Finding relevant criteria, focusing on relevant criteria, to the extent possible, uniformity of standards and benchmarks, verifiability, all these are important aspects of any rating or accreditation exercise. And therefore, I think our experience with the QS IGAUGE in particular, I do remember that we had some concerns when we started this process, and we have discussed that. But QS IGAUGE has been good at learning and has been responsive. And we do understand that not all criteria may all equally be relevant for all universities in their various phases of development, or based on what areas or disciplines they're focused on. That's something that becomes obvious, particularly for universities like us, who are more heavily focused on one discipline like health sciences and health professions. But having said that, once we went through the process, we see that there are opportunities to make impact in other areas to at least partially offset that. Some areas like on-campus employment, which we have discussed in the past, which becomes a bit of a contentious issue for discipline areas like health sciences, where it's almost an unknown concept. So we have these are things, and also other areas like in health sciences professions, very often services are very closely integrated with education. Students, teachers, as well as students are actually serving clinical needs, patient needs, etc., as part of the education process itself. So probably bringing that aspect into quality assessment would be desirable. I understand that this would raise the issue of how is it relevant for universities which don't have such programs. That is the give and take that we have to look at, and I think the subject ratings are a way of addressing that, which has been introduced recently. So what I'm trying to say is that one can never be completely happy with a given rating process. I don't think any organization will say they have found the perfect assessment or accreditation system, but one does do our best. And when we have organizations who are willing to listen and who are constantly evolving, like in this case, QS IGAUGE, I think these operations can be addressed.
Thank you, Dr. Harsha. I couldn't agree more with you. We've taken a lot of feedback from institutions across the country. We have about 100 odd rated institutions right now, or in the process of getting rated. And that is why our new methodology 2.0 has been created, where we have given institutions an or perspective, either and or, where they can actually make a choice, where we would try institutions where they can actually submit data rather than not submitting anything at all. So from a medical institution or health sciences perspective, that was always a challenge. And when I started with QS, I think the first institution I went to was a medical institution. I got hammered in their office because of this reason. But that's the fun part of it. That's something which I learned. That's something which the analyst team has been able to grab and move forward. They have done a fantastic job on improving the methodology. And like you just said, we also now have the subject ratings for institutions, which they can also use to showcase one particular discipline within their organization. So that's it. I can't thank all of you enough for the time, the effort, your wonderful comments. I mean, most of the gentlemen and ladies who have joined today on YouTube for this wonderful webinar have said that they have really enjoyed it. Very good session, very knowledgeable. And not only them, but there have been a couple of statements from all of you today which have been an eye opener for me as well. So I'm now going to invite our associate director for client relations, Sachin Kumar, to give the closing note. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Dr. Harsha. Thank you, Dr. Karat. Thank you, Dr. Mantri. I've had a wonderful time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shibayu. Good evening. So before I thank you for your participation, we have a very small announcement to make. Actually, we are going to conduct another good session on 16th of December on a very interesting topic. And we have a small video to play on that.
On behalf of QS iGauge in Bangalore, I take this opportunity to welcome you to our next webinar on Wednesday, 16th December, 3 p.m. on a very important topic titled Anxious Academia, a study of Indian faculty members and the impact of COVID-19 on them. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to attend this webinar. We will be discussing this report, which is the outcome of over 2,000 faculty members which are interviewed in India during the COVID-19 pandemic, and also inviting international panelists, Catherine Bennett from Deakin University, Australia, and Arvinder Singh from Ashoka University, India, who will be joining me in debating and discussing the outcomes of this report and the impact to Indian higher education.
So as is evident from the feedback of the viewers, it was a great session on, as we discussed, various aspects and steps and benchmarks and outcomes, and more importantly, the role of data in the quality assessments in higher education. And I think having a diverse panel from 3 different institutions has certainly helped in bringing the best out of the topic. And it's really heartening to know at the same time that how QS iGauge is helping the institutions in identifying their strengths and weaknesses and helping them in aligning their processes to their strategic objectives. And at the same time, it's also providing a platform to showcase their strengths. So in our continuous endeavor, and as Shubayu mentioned during the discussion, to further support the institutions and parents, we have recently launched subject ratings in various subject areas for higher education institutions, and school ratings for K-12 schools, which we believe plays an extremely important role in shaping and preparing students for higher education. So the school ratings also happens to be the first such solution in India that's been launched by a private agency. And we strongly believe that these initiatives are going to add lots of value to the ecosystem. So now on behalf of the entire QS iGauge team, and the audience, I'd like to thank Dr. Archana Mantri, Dr. Shivaram Khara, and Dr. Harsha Halahalli for taking out time and coming on this platform and sharing your valuable thoughts and also experiences with us. And for the audience, while you are here, please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not subscribed it already, because while we keep conducting such interesting events time to time, you will keep getting notifications about them. So with this, we come to an end of this, and thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you everyone. It was a very pleasant evening. Thank you.